This is Finding Fire Island, a special episode featuring a one-on-one conversation with the one and only Robin Byrd. If you lived in New York in the 80s or 90s, you know Robin was the queen of late-night cable, producing and starring in the live Robin Byrd Show, a slice of old New York where it felt like anything could happen. But Robin's story doesn't end in Manhattan. For more than 50 years, she's been part of the fabric of Fire Island. She first discovered Cherry Grove and the Pines back in the 1970s and has lived in the Pines since 1992. Today, she's still one of Fire Island's most beloved personalities, hosting her weekly tea dances in both communities, really keeping that old-school Fire Island spirit alive. Her brand new documentary, Bang My Box, The Robin Byrd Story, is now airing on HBO. Please enjoy my intimate conversation with the legendary Robin Byrd, and I'll see you next week as we continue the Finding Fire Island docuseries. Hi, Robin Byrd.
Hello, Jess. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I just got over doing a tea dance on the rooftop yesterday, which I saw you there. It's a little tiring, the day after, because I give out 1,000,000% of my energy.
Let's talk about the tea dances. So, although you live oceanfront in the Fire Island Pines, you do your tea dances in Cherry Grove.
I do my tea dances in Cherry Grove, and this year, 2026, we decided the Sip and Twirl wanted me to host, it's called Disco Deck, for 2 hours, and it's on Sundays. So it's a couple in the Grove, one for the Cherry Grove Arts Project, and one...
It's on the deck. It's on the roof.
It's on the rooftop.
The roof of the community house, which, quite frankly, do you agree? I think that's the best view of the sunset.
It's the only view of the sunset. It's amazing. And that's like the best of the community house, which is a theater, and it's the oldest gay theater, I think, in the country or even in the world.
Do you know the story behind that community house theater?
Not 100%. Do you?
Yeah. So in 1948, it was an old barn that they floated across the bay. And that is what made Cherry Grove gay, because suddenly through the underground Broadway community
came
the dressers, the word of mouth. So that's how Rose Levine heard about it, and Pansy, and then they started coming and they're all homegrown local community theater, and that's what started.
That's amazing. That's like the seeds, and they've grown up to be the trees. Yeah.
Wait, so Robin, what year did you start hosting your tea dances?
14 years ago, I hosted at the Pavilion Deck, and the owners at that time would bring in different DJs every week. So I would be on the deck on Fridays and Saturdays from 6 to 10 p.m. on the Pavilion Deck, eye level with the ferry. And every time the ferry would come in on a Friday or Saturday night, I would go, hello, and greet everybody with that energy, and it would start their weekend off well. They even had a drink called the Dirty Bird, which was Prosecco, Saint Germain, and a little dash of grenadine just for the color, for like an off pink. And that was only $5. And then you had one of those or two of those. If I had two of those, it got, it was very lightheaded and up. And that was back in the day. So it must have been around 2009 maybe, or even before then, because I stopped drinking after I had breast cancer, and my surgeon said no more alcohol.
So your documentary is premiering on HBO.
Yes, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
June 30th. I can't wait.
I have so many questions about this documentary. I think it's a love letter, I think, to two things. It's a love letter to your relationship with your husband, Shelley.
Yes.
And I also view it as a love letter to Fire Island.
And to my viewers.
and of course
Right.
the viewers.
Yes.
But the way Fire Island is showcased in the doc is absolutely beautiful. I love how the invasion basically are kind of the closing frames of it. Was that last year or the year before?
Right. It was the year before, because last year it was basically Trist who
Yes.
had taken over the invasion and the pink carpet and things like that. Yeah, it was the year before.
How long did you shoot on Fire Island versus, I know there are the scenes with you and the archivist in Brooklyn, and then of course you in Central Park. Roughly over how much time? Because there's some scenes in the winter.
About 2.5 years. They started when I was 69.
Yeah, it opens on your 69th birthday, your 68th or 69th birthday, and then it ends
On my 70th.
on your 70th.
Yes. Yes. And now I'm 71 in 2026. Time flies.
And so you met Shelley on Fire Island. Which community, which area of Fire Island was that in?
West of Ocean Beach.
So how did you wind up living in the Fire Island Pines? Like, I want to hear your Pines and Cherry Grove origin story.
Cherry Grove has always been home for me. I fell in love with the Pines just because I loved the houses. I had done a movie somewhere in the Pines for a director called Chuck Vincent. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I do remember we were here in the Pines. It's different because the Grove is quaint and small and salt shacks, and the Pines is grandioso and mega mansions.
So you came first in the 80s? Is that when you first started coming?
I started living in the Pines in the 80s, yeah. But I used to come to the Pines all the time. When Shelley and I and my girlfriend, Kathy McGill, we would get on our bicycles from Ocean Bay Park and drive through Point of Woods, which you're not allowed to do that, but we did anyway. And we go through the sunken forest and have sex in the forest, the three of us, and then continue on to the Blue Whale and get our little blue tongue, which I don't know if they do that anymore.
They don't.
And that was when John White owned it. And then we would go and stop off at the Ice Palace when Johnny Poole was working the pool bar. And then we'd make it back after drinking and then go back to the Sunken Forest again and go through Sailor's Haven, Sunken Forest, and have sex again in the Sunken Forest, and then continue back on the west end of Fire Island.
What do you think is the biggest change, like from your early days to today? What surprises you? Yeah, what surprises you about the culture that in a way that it's either evolved or the people have changed?
You know, I don't think much has changed. The Grove has become more women as opposed to more theater, the way it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. The Pines has gotten another generation now, where I was in the movie, the rom-com Fire Island, Bowen Yang and Margaret Cho.
You're on the little boat.
I'm on the water taxi and going, can we go to Cherry Grove now?
How was it filming that scene?
Fun. I know Margaret and I got to know Bowen. I'm very flattered and happy that they asked me. The clientele of Fire Island now is that generation. The young ones, they're all coming and they see, oh, we can have Fire Island this way. And so all the elders in the Pines have moved to the Grove, where they're more acceptable in age.
But you know, I have to tell you, I have met so many longtime community members here in the Pines, and the older community, meaning like the longtime members who've been
Right.
here since the 70s,
Like me.
that community is strong.
Yeah.
And you know what I noticed? I never need to go to Low Tea ever again. My favorite tea is up at the Sip and Twirl. That's the best energy. The music is so much better. You can hear the music. And the people who are hanging out at that bar and out on the deck, those are the real Pines people.
Right. I remember when Sip and Twirl, before it was Sip and Twirl, when it was Cruise Quarters.
Talk to me about Cruise Quarters.
It was fun. We could see the sunset. It was different layout. It was all inclusive. It wasn't like the bar separate from a glass and a door that you got, because there's a separation between the dance floor and the people who are sitting at the bar to sit. Yeah, I used to do, I was a blue whale girl, but that was before they started packing them in like sardines. I used to go and be on the dance floor and use my flags.
Talk about your flagging for people who don't know what that means. So when Robin hosts the tea dance, she's flagging as the, like Greg Scarnici, he's
a DJ.
He's a DJ. So
right.
Describe what we'll have the visual, but I want to hear what, in your words, like what you're doing.
I am doing figure eights with weighted flags in an upward motion. That's all. But to me, they're like extensions of my arms, like wings. And you really get a heavy aerobic, high intensity workout where your heart rate, you have to stop because your heart rate can go up to 100. Mine has gone up to 180. And it's a little too much. I'm like, well, I got to stop now.
One of my favorite things in Bang My Boxer documentary on HBO is because there's so much footage from the show that obviously came from your archives. And it shows you like teaching women how to weightlift.
My Modern Woman show.
You're doing like squats and you're doing like chest flies. I thought that was so funny that you were doing that on cable access to me. Like, I'm from Long Island, so I had access to all that stuff, and I grew up watching.
I used to run my show Modern Woman on Riverhead Cable back in the day. I used to drive it out there and made a deal with Riverhead Cable that I could do it on their access channel. Because back in the day, women weren't lifting weights. Brian Moss from Better Bodies developed a gym just for women.
Where?
To bodybuild on 21st Street, 12 West 21st Street, between 5th and 6th. It was called Better Bodies. And because of me, he decided to open up a gym just for women for bodybuilding because it wasn't friendly at that time. I used to go to the Y on 63rd Street on the west side, and I would go to the weight room, and these old queens would be very, like, what's she doing here? Until one day, this man was bench pressing something more than he could handle. And I saw that, and I went over there, and I made him work out harder. And I go, come on, you pussy. Lift that up. Do another set, And I gained respect because of that. But back in the day, gay men the old queens were into the Women Haters Club. And what was she doing in this gym? And women were intimidated about that. So this was before even, I was the East Coast's first bodybuilding show on TV for women. Modern Woman. Wow. And that was prior to the Robin Byrd Show. I would have it on from 11:30 to 12. And then what you saw in the movie was I incorporated the Modern Woman with the Robin Byrd Show.
What people don't know is Robin produced, directed, and booked every episode.
Did camera, did the editing, picked up the guests, chauffeured them around, I was security to make sure they were.
Where was the studio? Where were you at?
110 East 23rd Street, between Park and Lex.
And it was live on Wednesdays?
Live in the same building that the Harvey Milk School was on 12, and we were on the second, third floor.
And for people who don't remember, cable access was really the precursor to YouTube live streaming or live streaming on Instagram. Like, wouldn't you say?
Cable programming was created. The cable itself was created for security reasons. Because if and in case there was an emergency in New York City, they wouldn't have to go through over the air. They could go underground. That was the purpose of cable, And because they went underground and used the city streets, then they had to accommodate for public use as well. But my channel that I was on was leased access. It's like real estate. I was making shows and I wanted to accumulate more time, because the more time I had, the more viewers I would catch at different times. And I got a little too big, but more subscribers subscribed to the cable company because of my show. They weren't subscribing because they wanted to see CNN. They wanted to see the Robin Byrd Show. So they subscribed to Manhattan. It was Sterling Cable, then Manhattan Cable, then Time Warner Cable. They changed hands. Now it's Spectrum,
Yes,
Charter, Spectrum Cable, and I'm still on in reruns every night at 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning on channel 1820, all the way at the end of the dial.
what I thought was so funny, eventually Saturday Night Live parodies the Robin Byrd. Sherry O'Terry plays you in a Robin Byrd Show sketch.
She did me 3 times. She was so good. She nailed it.
She took your crochet bikini and filled it with like fake,
fake
to make
boobies,
the boobs.
them look booby, because she wasn't gonna. Right. I thought that was amazing.
I bring up the Sherry O'Terry Saturday Night Live parody because they interview Sherry O'Terry in the doc, and she references a story where you said to her, "Sherry, ask me anything. What do you want to know?" And she says, "Did you ever think about improving the production quality?" Because the show was on for 25 years. It ran from it ran from when to when?
77 live. It ran live from 77 to 98.
So she says for over 25 years, certainly we can, improve production quality. And to that, you say, nobody wants high quality porn.
Nope.
Can you talk a little bit more about how did the sort of lo-fi, low budge, little bit of like a film, it reminded me almost like, remember when Barbara Walters was on The View? There'd almost be like Vaseline on the lens.
They have lenses for the cameras. They do have screw-in lenses for the camera. Low contrast, high contrast. I made it dreamy for everybody because I wanted to turn you on and tuck you in at night. I didn't want you to see serious, hard, bright things. We wanted to dim the lights a little, but we wanted to see what was on the camera, and you needed. But we used photographic lights rather than television lights. We didn't use the studio lights that they had there. I brought my own lights in. I brought my own lights in. I brought my own mic in. I brought my own crew in. The crew that we had at the studio, one of the technical directors became homophobic when I started having men on, so he left. I got rid of him. And then
homophobic how? Like, what did he say?
He didn't like seeing the men. And I said, it's not your business to see it or anything. Your job is to be the technical director to make sure that the cameras are white balanced and that the wipes were there and the commercials get, put in or whatever, the breaks were made. But he was homophobic. Maybe he was afraid of his own sexuality.
Now, I think it won't be any surprise to my audience that my favorite guest of all time on the Robin Byrd Show is Sandra Bernhard. Now, for the past several years that I've seen Sandra's Christmas show at Joe's Pub, you have a cameo in the show. You're sitting in the back of Joe's Pub, and Sandy makes you part of the show. Robin Byrd, and you're shouting out. And you met because when she was doing Without You, I'm Nothing off Broadway in 88, she came on the show to promote. So
it's funny. She called into the show, and that's how I got to meet her. She called into the show. I said, well, I'll come see your show if you come do mine.
But she started as a caller.
Yes.
What would she do? Do they have?
She called in. She just called in at one time, and she said, "I want to invite you. I love you, and blah blah blah. And I want to invite you down to my show." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll come to see your show. And then when I went to see your show, I said, okay, now you have to do my show. I want you to be on. And since she had did The King of Comedy, she had a strip scene, I remember, in that. And I'm like, well, you can come and strip on my show. And she did. And it was amazing. She did 2 or 3 appearances on my show. One, she stripped. And twice she actually was co-hosting.
The footage of her, I think like that's my favorite like look of her, like with like the 80s hair, and she's wearing like denim shorts.
But it was the late 80s.
I love it.
It was the late 80s. It was the look. Listen, when I used to come to Fire Island, I used to wear Timberlands and cut off shorts and wife beater T-shirts. You know, you're wearing one now.
You know, okay, what's hilarious? And also, I wore boots here.
I love those boots.
Thank you.
I love those.
But literally, what you just described is like my personal look.
It's a great look. That was my look too back in the day. You know, now not much different. My look has always been T-shirt and jeans.
Have there been celebrities who you've run into who have admitted to you that they used to watch? Aside from like the Sandra Bernhards, like people
Barry
who...
Manilow, everybody. I was the entertainer's entertainer. Liza Minnelli, Alan Cumming.
Liza, what did she say to you?
She lived in my neighborhood, and we used to run into each other at the end of the show. My show on Wednesday night, she'd be shopping at Food Emporium at like 2, 3 in the morning because Food Emporium used to be 24 hours when they were around. I'm such a big fan of yours. And I was like, I'm such a big fan of yours. You know, we did that.
So in a complete twist of reality, Sarah Jessica Parker is a producer on this film. Somehow her production company is involved. And Sarah Jessica Parker said the Robin Byrd Show helped in part pave the way for Sex and the City.
Right.
How did you react when you found out Sarah Jessica Parker is going to be attached?
I couldn't believe it because 30 years ago or more, she was at Iridium, this jazz club, promoting one of these movies before Sex and the City. But it sort of, I guess, had a Sex in New York type of theme. So the publicist for that movie had called me to get 6 or 8 guys in Speedos or G-strings and jock straps to walk around Iridium. And I said, sure, and we did. And we walked by the table where she was sitting, and out of the corner of my ears, I heard, what is she doing here with them? And I just turned and I said, it's a movie that has something to do with sex. And they asked me to bring the boys. And I always thought that she hated me for my little wisecrack that I snorted out. And so when I heard it was Jessica Parker, and I actually said, oh, don't tell her it's me. Maybe she doesn't remember. So we're on the red carpet at the premiere for the Tribeca Film Festival, and we're hugging. And I whispered in her ear while we're hugging, I don't know if you remember, but I always thought for 30 years you hated me because I came up with some wisecrack because of something that you had said. And she said, no. But it was like a full circle here in my mind. I created something, and how ironic that 30 or 40 years later, here we are, and she's producing my film, and she's such a big fan, and she gave me such kudos without knowing that I paved the way for Sex and the City for her. I was so flattered and so humbled by that because of the fact that here I thought in my mind she hated me, and she's producing my film. It was a full circle of synergy and meant to be things.
Your persona on the show, which I think is pretty much you in real life, like I
am the same in real life as I am on the show.
Paul Rudnick, the great screenwriter, he was actually in the first season of Finding Fire Island. He's an unbelievable pontificator, one of the greats. Paul Rudnick said The only person who can be compared to Robin Byrd, the closest comp, is Mr. Rogers.
Meets Janis Joplin.
But do you see the Mr. Rogers comparison?
I do. It's before your time, but there used to be Sherry Lewis and Wonderama with lamb
Was Sherry
chop.
Lewis with the lamb chop? Yes.
Lamb chop.
I think I was a kid. Yeah.
She used to have this mirror and hold up the mirror, and I always I see so and so, and I see this one, and I'm actually, I guess I was raised with them, and it was embedded. I was raised with television. Television was my babysitter.
And you're a born and bred New Yorker.
Yes.
Where were you? Where is your childhood home?
First Avenue in the 50s.
You went to like elementary school and high school in
I ran
Manhattan?
away from home when I was 13, so I got beaten up after school, and I didn't want to go back ever again.
Where did you run away to?
My girlfriend's house. First I ran away to Central Park and hung out there.
And then you moved in with your girlfriend.
And then I
Because
moved in.
when we say girlfriend, you had like a relationship, like a girlfriend.
We were close. We experimented sexually together. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't my wife.
But you do say that part of what made you fall in love with Shelley was obviously like his warmth.
He was the woman I always wanted to marry because he was such a sensitive human being. He still is.
You eventually get your GED and all of that, but where were you hanging out? Like
in the 70s, I started hanging out here in Fire Island. I discovered clubbing and orgies and Fire Island.
what did Fire Island provide you that you couldn't find in the city?
No cars, fresh air.
But you could have had an orgy in Manhattan.
Yeah, but this was different. We bounced everywhere. Parties, there used to be black and white parties, themed, where everybody has to wear black and white together.
Oh, well, that's what the Pines was built on, were those costume parties.
Totally.
The red. Were you at the red party? There was the red party, the
Pink party.
Think pink party.
The Think Pink party when they had the pink umbrellas on the beach all through. Yeah. Yeah, there used to be the white party where we used to invade the Grove. The Pines used to invade the Grove years ago on the white party.
What happened?
It got lost in translation. Nobody did it anymore.
But so the idea was like you walked on the beach and you went up to the Ice Palace?
You got on a boat and you all just invaded how the Grove invades the Pines. It would be pretty much, I think, in August, where we used to have the white party, and we would invade the Grove.
And you say that for the first maybe 10 years, you really didn't make any money off of the show, but the money did come with the 900 lines.
With the 800 numbers and the 970 numbers.
Talk about it's interesting because there's an episode of the second season of Finding Fire Island it's called Sex Before the Internet, and we literally trace how the technology evolved, like how people would meet each other, and this was both straight and gay people. But talk about your 800 and the 900 lines. How did you work them specifically? And you wound up making a small fortune off of this.
When the phone company would bill them on your phone bill, that's when we made the money. Phone company would do the actual transferring of the lines to whoever was forwarded to it. I made enough money to buy my house, or at least get a loan to buy my house.
But talk about how you actually incorporated the lines into your show. Like you had a number just for men.
Right. I had gay advertisers and they wanted, I had my own line, Beef and Mary and
BYRD.
And 970 Bird. And
so what would happen? I call the number.
You would call up, and that phone call, depending on the selection that you would make, would go to an actor or actress performing the fantasy that you wanted.
Like phone sex.
It was phone sex.
Yeah.
Because I believed that you couldn't get AIDS from phone sex.
Now, It's a very curious timing of your success because people, at least in my generation, really need to understand that the Stonewall Uprising happens in 1969. The very first Pride, we're literally recording this on Pride Sunday. The very first Pride happens in June of 1970. Prior to that, being gay was essentially illegal. If you were found out, you could lose your job. People lived double lives. It was a very, very challenging
In the closet.
existence. After Stonewall and the very first Pride, there is the greatest shift in gay culture. Suddenly, it is a free-for-all. Green light to be gay and live your life out loud. That exists for about a decade, 10 years of freedom. And then
AIDS.
1981, it all comes to a halt.
Right.
Now, what's interesting is your show premieres in that decade.
Totally.
Your show rides along the wave of the gay liberation movement and then comes up against the AIDS epidemic. You then turn the message of your show and you turn the education of your show into safe sex.
Right. Don't stop having sex. Just start having safe sex. Use a condom. Use a dental dam.
Why was this so important to you personally?
I've lost so many people to AIDS, whether it be because of sex or however it was spread. I didn't want people to stop having sex. I certainly didn't want to have stop having sex. And I felt that the adult industry had some sort of platform to set an example that if they showed condom use in films, that it could catch on. And that didn't last very long.
I know that they used to give out that GMHC used to drop off condoms at the pantry.
Everywhere. Show World, Show Palace, all the clubs, all the bars. Everywhere you went, GMHC had the packets.
Your house here, what is the history of your house? Who owned it prior to you?
Some straight, messy family.
Okay.
Breeders. They had children. The person who built that house, Arthur Erickson, built a lot of downtown Toronto, and he was a gay man. And his lover was Francisco, and he was an interior designer. I mean, what a great marriage together of an architect and an interior designer.
Did Arthur Erickson ever live in the house?
Oh, yeah. He had major. In fact, back in the day, Horace Gifford and him, Arthur Erickson, sort of competed for parties back in the day. I don't know, but I've been told by family members of Arthur Erickson. And Horace Gifford made maybe 16 or 18 houses. Arthur Erickson just made one. And that was his love shack. So he could be openly gay with his lover.
What are some of like the grand parties that like that house has seen?
I was told by Randy from the Village People, the cowboy. He told me, coming from Randy Jones, it's true that he was at a party for some record label and down came Grace Jones with a helicopter being lifted down through the roof that opens up. My roof.
Grace Jones lands on your house.
In the pool. But they have, my roof in my house was a retractable roof. I got rid of that so that it wouldn't leak. But supposedly there was some big record producing party there.
Was Roberta Flack at that performance too?
I don't know. We'd have to call Randy Jones to find out.
Let's get him on the line.
No. No. We could, but no. To me, that's like the major thing about my house. But they call it Lincoln Center because it looks like Lincoln Center. It was the first McMansion to be built here.
And what year did you buy it?
92 in September.
And I guess back then it wasn't a complete fortune. to buy. It was
I needed a jumbo loan to buy it. I took a 30-year jumbo loan, and we paid for it in 15 years because I was afraid it was going to be taken away.
How often do you go back to the city?
Now that I'm retired, once a month. Once a month for the mail. Of course, for this movie, I've been back and forth.
It premiered at Tribeca. You were part of the Provincetown Film Festival. Had you been to Provincetown before?
Never.
What'd you make of it?
I thought of it as a happy, gay-friendly, land of yes, ocean beach. But it was quaint. It was very nice. It's a bitch to get to. I took a Nacella, then a high-speed ferry, and for a high-speed ferry to be an hour and 40 minutes when I could just hop on this ferry and be from Sayville to the Pines or the Grove in 20 minutes. It wasn't too high speed for me.
I love how I feel like the movie deliberately doesn't have sit-down interviews. Like, so many people are interviewed for it. Michael Musto, Sandra Bernhard, a lot of other writers. I don't know how those interviews were conducted because it just says voice of Sandra Bernhard.
They also set up a phone line.
I love that because it's an exact mirror of the Robin Byrd Show, where people would call in and you just would hear the voice.
Right.
And I loved how they featured the people who I think they solicited through Instagram, and then you'd like either leave a voice note or the number.
Exactly.
And these are real fans of yours, just like, you know, a little 1 minute snippet, then they go into the movie. I loved that. Is there anything about your legacy that you feel has been overlooked?
That I was the pioneer that took the arrows for the settlers to get the land. My generation and before my generation fought for the freedoms that are handed down now. Freedom of expression and freedom of thought.
Any final thoughts? Anything I didn't ask that you want to say? This has been so fun and lovely.
I do have merch. And it's available, The Robin Byrd, on Instagram. And you can link the Byrd store. A lot of people are buying trucker hats and T-shirts and towels, 970 Byrd mugs.
You're a delight.
Jess. You're adorable.
Truly final question. I know that you rejected a few people who had approached you for the doc because you didn't like their energy. And then it was finally these people who had the right energy.
Right.
How's my energy?
Your energy is excellent. When you came up to me yesterday at Tea Dance, you go, "Hi, this is me." And I'm like, "Oh, you're a cute little package." Cute little package.
I'll take it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sweetie.
Finding Fire Island is created, executive produced, and narrated by Jess Rothschild. Co-produced with the Pines Historical Society. Sound design by Caitlin White. Video editing by Evelyn Darr. Special thanks to the Pines Foundation and Sage USA.